Good afternoon. My name is James Dickey. I am chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. I'm very pleased today to be joined by Bethany Hatch. Bethany is the candidate for Senate District 29 in El Paso. Bethany, if you would say a quick hello to everybody.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having me on.
It is good to have you with us, and thank you very much for joining us this day. We have a lot of stuff going on and a lot going on at the party. And Bethany and other candidates who have stepped up is a big part of what we are doing new this year. Last year, we put together the candidate recruiting task force. We had volunteers from all over the state. They worked to spread the word that we were looking to make sure that every incumbent Democrat in office in Texas had a challenger. And we are so pleased that folks like Bethany stepped up this year to take on that challenge. And we made sure that we had great voter data, great block walking systems, great phone banking systems available for every one of those candidates. We also made sure that we had field staff prepared and able and available to help support those candidates. Before we entered into this coronavirus challenge, we already had over 50 paid field staff spread across the state. For perspective, that is more than double the total number of staff we had in both of the last two elections combined at the peak of those elections. And here we had that already by March going into this challenge that none of us knew was coming, but thankfully we were prepared for that. And we were prepared for that not only in having that staff, not only in already having recruited great candidates and help support those great candidates, but also in terms of raising money. We ended 2019 with $4.4 million cash on hand. That is more funds by far than the party had ever had on hand before. Thankfully, again, we had that going into this coronavirus challenge, even though, of course, none of us knew that was coming. We also had put a new focus on voter registration. Every new registered voter and a new Republican registered voter is another vote that we can count on helping us turn out our votes and get Bethany and other candidates all over the state elected come November. And our goal has been to register 100,000 voters. We're doing that by 10K for 10R, 10,000 new Republican volunteers who will each help us register 10 new Texas Republican voters. 10 new voters, 10,000 volunteers, that's 100,000 total new registrations. We already have over 3,500 volunteers helping. We have already reached over 85,000 new registrations. And of course, we are going to continue to work through that very hard. We're going to continue to push that. And we're doing all of that to make sure that we win in November from the White House to courthouses all over Texas. And part of doing that, again, is having great candidates all over challenging every incumbent. And Bethany in El Paso in Senate District 29 is a key part of that. She's a third generation El Pasoan, a graduate of Texas Tech University, a successful small business owner, and above all, a follower of Christ. She graduated from Coronado High School in El Paso and received her BA in advertising from Texas Tech University in Lubbock, where she managed a small business post-graduation. Bethany moved back over 5 years ago to start a small business in Northeast El Paso, where she now employs 18 people. Bethany Hatch is a small business owner with a firm understanding of what it takes to bring financial stability to your district. She truly believes that District 29 can be filled with opportunity given the right circumstances to flourish. Bethany wants to empower the district residents and to feel confident in pursuing the American dream. She knows that with someone willing to fight for the people of this district, together we can bring exponential growth and opportunity to El Paso. Bethany chose to run for state senate because she knows that she can make a difference. And for far too long, District 29 has sent career politicians to Austin, and it's time to send someone dedicated to being the people's voice. Bethany Hatch is that voice. Please join me in welcoming Bethany.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to speak with you and to just share my platform and ideas with everyone who's watching. It's a really exciting time, and I look forward to hopefully representing the people of District 29.
That's fantastic. Well, Bethany, we've got several questions for you, and I'll go through those with you now. First of all, uh, you know, District 29 clearly needs fresh representation, but why you? What made you willing and convinced that you are the right pick, that you needed to run for this seat?
So I grew up in this community. I've been here for, like you said, third generation. I've been part of the community, and coming back after graduation, after college, and becoming a business owner, I've seen the struggles that people here are facing from even a different side. And I think it's important that we bring the voice of the people to this seat. That we haven't really had someone challenge people who have been running for this seat for a very long time on the Republican side. And it's important that we send somebody to Austin who's ready and willing to fight for the people in District 29 and bring their voice to Austin. And I'm willing to do that, and I'm ready to do that, and I'm excited to fight for the people here.
That's fantastic. Well, this coronavirus pandemic is going to have a lasting effect on our economy, particularly in jobs lost and the closure of small businesses. What are you going to do to help bring high paying jobs to the area? And what's your plan to help small businesses?
Well, that's a very important question, and it's a very real threat that we're facing right now. We're talking about a large percentages of businesses that are scared that they might not even be able to keep their doors open because of this shutdown. And Texas is taking a little bit different approach. We're seeing more and more openings, but there's still more that can be done. And I'm excited to see more Texans getting back to work. And as far as bringing more jobs to District 29, I think it's important to note that although El Paso has grown, we haven't seen the exponential growth that we see in the other big cities in Texas. So if we're able to get some of those incentives that other cities are able to offer big companies to come in to their cities to offer those jobs, and if we can bring some of those incentives to District 29, then I know that we'll see a lot bigger growth, a lot of bigger economic growth, see more job opportunities, higher paying jobs, and in turn that'll help smaller businesses when we have a community that is flourishing economically.
That's great. So, part of having a vibrant jobs market is having a well educated population and a well educated workforce. So, can you share your thoughts on education and standardized testing? What do you think about standardized testing, and how would you ensure accountability? And what do you think is the proper role of the state in education?
Absolutely. So that's a big part of my platform. And I actually have a key advisor on my campaign who has her doctorate in education. And we have spoken about the problems that educators in this area have experienced. And I think one of the biggest steps we need to take is we need to get the federal government out of the education system in Texas, and then bring that accountability, have Texas set some standards, and then put the accountability on the local education systems. And I think that it's important to note that students in El Paso are not going to learn the same as students in Houston or Austin. And it's important that teachers are able to modify their teaching methods to their students. And so I think that if we're able to work with educators and be able to implement policies that relieve our educators from the stress of standardized testing that takes a lot of time away from them educating the students, then we'll see a lot more improvement in our education system, and we'll set our students up for success.
Absolutely. Personal liberties are always important, and we have seen a lot of overreaching and stifling regulation that has been chipping away at our personal liberties. And we've seen a lot of government action necessary to cut away some of those regulations in order for us to be able to respond to and survive during this coronavirus time. What are your thoughts on personal liberties and how you would protect those?
That's a very real threat that we're seeing going on right now. We see the woman Shelley Luther, the hairstylist in Dallas. She just got released from jail. She was in jail for, and I saw you released a statement on that. And I think that's a scary place that we are, that we're seeing our liberties being taken away. And so there has to be a fine line between taking the public safety into account and not infringing on our personal liberties. And so while Texas is ahead of other states, I think that there are some other things that we can do better, because we are a nation of free people, and we have our constitutional rights. And again, we just need to find that fine line between educating people on their responsibilities and promoting personal responsibilities versus really interfering and infringing on our day-to-day lives, which is, I think, what a lot of concerns are that people have been having with some of the mandates that we've seen come out of local government.
Absolutely. Well, in terms of liberties, the most important of those is our life and our right to life. And government sure seems to be intruding on and trying to weaken the family unit. We at the Republican Party of Texas, we've had some victories. We finally ended Planned Parenthood taxpayer subsidies this last session, and we've got some other victories behind us now, but we've got much more work to do. We've seen attacks on traditional family values such as marriage and protecting the unborn. How do you feel about that, and what are your ideas about strengthening families?
Yeah, absolutely. As a Christian, I have strong beliefs in family and marriage and trustworthiness and honesty. And I believe that those are things that are under attack in our nation. When we can have conversations about whether or not to allow full term abortion, that's a scary place to be. I do applaud Texas. We do have a lot more protections against abortion than other states. However, a big problem I think that we have is that we do allow a waiver in the Texas Penal Code that allows a waiver to women and doctors that gives them the authority to end a baby's life. So that's something that I would love to see the legislature take on. But while we defend the sanctity of life, I think it's also important to promote the education, promote education for women, that it's not just a clump of cells, that we actually could, I think that that's where a lot of the miscommunication is coming from. We have so many people who actually fall into that they believe that lie, that the baby is not a life, it's not something to be protected. So I would really love to see some educational campaigns come out, and then also just encouraging maybe some of those resources to be able to go into organizations that provide free resources to women who find themselves in difficult positions, that they can feel empowered to make the right choice, and whether it's keeping the baby or putting the baby up for adoption, but that we really truly have women's empowerment and not the choice of life or death.
Absolutely. We at the State Republican Executive Committee this past Saturday, we met up in Weatherford, and some of us brought donations for a local pregnancy crisis center to support those mothers who had chosen life. And definitely we need to do that as well. And I certainly have supported pregnancy crisis centers here in Austin. Um, those are great information. I think the voters of Senate District 29 are very fortunate to have a real clear choice this time. And I'm very excited about having you on the Republican ballot in El Paso. Thank you for answering our questions today. Thank you for being on with us. Is there anything you would like to say to wrap up to the voters of Senate District 29?
I'd just love to say that if you are interested, we're always looking for help on the campaign, whether it be volunteer or donations. And the campaign address is Hatch for Texas and it's for hatchfortexas.com. And I'd love to hear from y'all on Facebook, if you email, Twitter. I just want to hear from the people of Senate District 29 and hear what's important to y'all. And I look forward to being able to represent y'all in Austin.
That is fantastic. And again, Bethany, I really appreciate you putting yourself out there. People don't realize how much energy and effort and commitment it takes to run a campaign and to run one well. Thank you for doing that. And we are glad at the party to support you and every other Republican nominee on the ballot this year. We are going to win, from the White House to courthouses all over Texas. And I look forward to celebrating with you on election night. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you for stepping up. And I look forward to seeing you the next time I'm in El Paso and celebrating with you after election night 2020, November, because we are not tired of winning it.
Absolutely. I look forward to it too. Thank you.
You bet.